Welcome to Vertical Optimization, and we are glad you're interested in XportPath and that you've joined us today. My name is Emeka Nwankwo. I am the President and Chief Executive Officer of Vertical Optimization LLC. We are the managing partners of XportPath, and I say managing partner because XportPath is a partnership. We are here to solve a difficult problem, a very difficult problem, and there is no way one organization can do it. And you've heard from our partners before now. We work in several countries, as you will learn as we go along, and we provide several services, all of which are intended to do one thing and one thing only: help small businesses develop products and get those products into other countries. It's an export-based operation, as you'll soon find out. I assume you know that already, and we welcome you. XportPath is a partnership of several organizations. We've got private companies, we've got government agencies, we've got non-profits, all of whom have come together to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to make goods, to help small businesses to make goods and to sell them. In what follows, I'm going to talk to you about how this works, talk to you about how we're structured, and what we hope to accomplish. Success at the end of the day is about small businesses making money, and making money consistently by exporting products. There have been lots of conversations, conferences, seminars, books, TV shows about the difficulties small companies in emerging markets have. All of them are real. The challenges that small businesses face are real. But challenges can be overcome. And XportPath started from the work that we've been doing in this company at Vertical Optimization, developing products ourselves and exporting them to the US. And there were three areas we identified as being the core obstacles that businesses face. I'll outline them to you in the hope that this would form the framework for our conversation today, and also about the structure of the program itself, the steps we've put into place, the mechanisms we've got in place that make up the platform are designed to address these three obstacles, and I'll tell you what they are. The first obstacle is access to information, or the lack thereof. Because companies do not know where to get information about what to make, what the laws in other countries are, and what the consumer preferences in those countries would be, they are not able to make products that sell. It is impossible for me to make things for people who I don't know anything about. So the first part of XportPath, phase one, as we call it, deals with access to information, product design, product development, regulatory requirements, all the things that you need to know to make a successful entry into a market. That's what phase one does. I'll talk a little bit more about this. Phase two deals with the second impediment, which is access to productive capacity. Money. That's always one that small businesses complain about. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's not just money, it's also access to what money can buy. Equipment, packaging, know-how, all the things that you need in place to actually make the product. That's what phase two deals with. Phase three is really where the manufacturer or the producer is most in control, and that step is the productive process, making it. Step four is access to the marketplace. How do I sell it there? Who would clear it for me? Who would store it for me? Who would advertise it for me? Who would sell it for me? Who would do the customer service? All those things are dealt with in the fourth phase. So what are the three impediments? Access to information, access to productive capacity, and access to the marketplace. And this is how XportPath is structured. And in what is to follow, we'll talk a little bit more about how we're structured, which partner does what, and you will see it as a consistent theme from country to country that we have come together as a community of interested parties to address these problems in a holistic manner. So XportPath will help you get the information you need, help you get the money you need, help you sell it. Now your job is to make it. make it as well as we've specified it, make it as well as we possibly can so that people buy it and keep on buying it. Welcome to ExportPath. You're probably wondering how ExportPath started. I am an engineer myself, a chemical engineer by training and a development specialist as well. And I've worked in several countries, in a few countries, including about a half a dozen African countries, doing product development, and I actually built and ran several manufacturing operations in an African country. And what would happen in those days is I would sort of put one hat on, do the engineering work, do the product development, do all the sourcing and all the technical things you need to build a manufacturing process, then get on a plane, come back to the US and become somebody else, basically selling the product. It was a relatively successful and very stressful operation. And in the course of that, we were approached as a company by a US government agency who asked us to see if we could do some more work to identify trade barriers that were keeping other African companies from succeeding in the US, where we seem to have made some inroads. That work led us to describing what today looks like ExportPath. And I'm glad to announce that it has grown from what we're doing in one country to about a half a dozen countries today, and continues to grow. We have about 24 partner organizations, and you'll meet them as you go along. You've already met some of them. And it is my hope that you would appreciate what has brought everybody together under one roof to solve this problem. Let's start with what ExportPath is. If you want a definition, this is as close as we can come to defining a relationship. It is a highly structured and disciplined process for assisting micro-entrepreneurs to design, finance, and market products in foreign markets. And I'm using the word foreign now because a lot of people, when they think about the program, they tend to think of the US market. Yes, the US market is where we started. That's where we continue to grow. It is also important to point out that the regional markets are important to us. So if one of our clients in Ethiopia makes a product and can sell it in Tanzania or sell it into Ghana, we will feel just as successful as a Nigerian exporter making a product and selling it into Ethiopia. All these are markets, and the important thing is that the product is made well, it is sufficiently financed to have a chance to succeed in the marketplace, and it is actually sold for a profit, consistent profit, so that you can do it again and again and again and you gain market share. So ExportPath is about transatlantic markets, the US, Canada, Europe. It is also about regional markets. And as time goes on, we'll talk a little bit more about our outbound program, which is really what I'm talking about now, as well as our inbound program, in which we assist investors and partners to come and work with African companies or companies in emerging markets. We're active in the Caribbean, and we'll talk some more about that. One of our clients approached me once and said, how would I describe what ExportPath is not? In other words, what differentiates it from other programs that are attempting to do the same thing? And we can do that in two ways. One is to differentiate it by what it does and by what it does not do. As I said, we think we're one of the few programs that provide product development, access to capital, and market access under one roof. It is a very difficult combination to pull off, and we think we've been reasonably successful in doing it. And as you can see, I am very hesitant to use the word successful because we're relatively new. We've recorded some success, but there's a lot of work to be done. Having said that, let me say what it is not. It is not about symposia or lectures or certificates or awards. We do not do those. Our focus is on the product, the granular, the tactile, the things that we can touch. That's what we tend to focus our energies on. Certificates and training are very helpful, But that's not what we do. In Export Path, our focus is on the product, making it and moving it from a place of relatively low value to some place where it's of higher value, and supporting the processes in between. That's what the program does. And it is our expectation that as clients, you would understand and appreciate our focus on the operational elements that make trade work. I was speaking at a conference once, and I was apologizing to them about how much we do not do conferences. And I said to them, trade development is a verb. It's not a noun. It denotes action. It's a series of things that you need to do to make things work. And that's what we're trying to focus on here. So Export Path is not going to give you a certificate or some kind of superior training experience. We'll do enough of it to make sure we have a common basis, common language, common conception. But at the end of the day, it's about your product. And this gentleman said, well, how would you characterize it? And I said, well, put it this way. We're not about getting visas for exporters. We're about getting green cards for exports. Okay? That's what we do. And in Export Path, and if you go from country to country, you see that this is a consistent theme. Rather than moving people around and spending money, we focus on getting their products around. So if you drop your product into one Export Path office today, realistically, your product gets seen in about 6 or 7 countries at the same time. It is an efficiency that we deliver to our clients. These are opportunities that may not be available to them in some other place. And it is a way of making sure that we wring out the last iota of value from the money that people pay, hardworking people pay, to get into trade development programs to make things work. Now, let's talk about where we work. Today, we're in the US. I'm here in our office in Washington, D.C., and I wish we had a bit more time. I'll take you on a tour of our small office here. And we say small because the smaller it is, the less it costs, and so we don't transfer those costs to you, our clients. We're in Washington, D.C. We're in Canada. We're in Ethiopia. We're in Nigeria. We're in Ghana. We're in Tanzania. We are going into several other countries in the next few months. Our intention is that by the end of 2010, Export Path will be in about 24 countries, fully operational in 24 countries, all of them providing inbound and outbound services. I've used these terms and before now, it's time for me to define them. From a country's perspective, outbound services are those things that we do to enable people to sell their things. So let's say I am in Ghana. Outbound services to a Ghanaian exporter will be those things we do to enable the Ghanaian sell his or her product in all the other countries in which we work. Inbound services will be those things we do to enable other people sell into Ghana or enable their investments in Ghana. That's how we use the term. So one person's outbound is another person's inbound. So it's when people are speaking, at least to have a common basis for comparison. Now, you're probably wondering what products we cover in Export Path. Nobody does everything well, and least of us in this partnership. So we've chosen areas where we feel we can make the most contribution, where we have core competencies that can help us. And I'll tell you what those are. The first area in which we work is food. So we would help develop, finance, and market food products. Let me clarify. These have to be value-added, non-perishable food products. So we will not take plantains, for instance, which my wife likes a lot, but we'll take plantain flour, okay? And plantain flour is shelf-stable, it is usable in various forms, and it is easy to export. Now, lots of people export plantains, and that's fine. We just do not do that. Yam. We can export yam flour, but we cannot export yams. So we are focusing on value-added processed foods in our food category. That's category 1. Second category is health and beauty products. That's a fairly wide range So I'll give you an example to make our point. Raw shea butter, we may not export, but value-added shea butter made into a lotion or a pomade or a hand cream or something, we're perfectly happy to work on, because the value addition, we believe, is the way to create wealth for our clients. If shea butter is sold as an agricultural export, the value is relatively low. Add some value to it, which takes some work, we agree, and it's work we want to do with you. Add some value to it, and suddenly you have a product which commands considerably higher value than the agricultural export. So that is second category. First one is food. Second one is health and beauty. The third category is lifestyle and interiors. This is a fairly broad category. I mean, it's fairly broad because lots of things fall under this category. Here is an example. Here's a product we worked on for a client. This is made from coconut shells. These are waste coconut shells that people typically throw away. We worked with this client to make the coconut shells into this flower vase, which you now see. Very nice flower vase, handmade flower vase, which we sell here. So this is an example of a lifestyle and interior product. They're things used to decorate your home. So in this category would fall paintings, carvings, those kinds of things fall under lifestyle and interiors, and we do cover those. The fourth category is textile and fashion. Now, that's a different category from lifestyle and interiors, because textile and fashion are obviously, you have textiles which can be used in all kinds of things, and obviously fashion, earrings, trinkets, that sort of stuff, and works of art which could be used as a fashion accessory. Let me point out something here. We do not deal with apparel in Export Path. And the reason we do not do that is because it is a stretch for us and our partners to deal with apparel, just given the variations in consumer preferences and all the issues that come up with fitting of apparel. So here's an example to make the point. A piece of cloth used as a table runner is okay, perfectly fine. In fact, we have a lot of products that table runners made from textiles and straws and all those kinds of things. Same piece of cloth made into a two-piece suit, we cannot sell because we are not set up to deal with the intricacies of apparel sales. So that's one area which we do not work in. But textile and fashion outside of apparel, certainly something we're very interested in. The final category is literature and entertainment. Fairly broad again, but in here we have books, music, and movies. These are what we call the heritage collection, because these are ways in which countries document and express their heritage and their culture. So books of appropriate quality and content we shall market. Movies the same, music the same. Now let me just make a small point here. We have focused on digital sales. Here's what I mean by that. To reduce the barrier to entry for exporters in export path countries and to increase the efficiency of our sales, we tend to focus on the sales of digital products. So digital books, digital music, digital movies. That's what we've tended to focus our energies on up until now. So just to make that point, the important thing is that the books sell, they're easier to get into the marketplace, they're easier to sell, and it's easier to repatriate the profits to the exporter. So that's what we sell. That's what we cover. Having said that, we finance and support investments beyond the areas that I've just talked about. And we do, into people who are interested in, say, extractive industries, mining, or natural resources, or lumber. We can finance those exports, but we do not market them. So what we'll do will be to assist with identifying a market, a potential buyer, but we do not physically export those products ourselves, because that's not what we're set up to do. Okay? Now, one might wonder, where does the name Export Path come from? what does export path mean? An export path, the name export path comes from the process, the actual pathway by which a product is conceived, developed, financed, manufactured, and sold. That's what export path comes from. In the slide that you're about to see, you shall see what the export path is, the various processes by which we have to develop a product and sell. I promised you I'd tell you what the literal export path is, what that process is. And here it is on your screen, so that you can follow exactly how the process works. The first step is a product or service conception. And by that, are we going to make a lotion? Are we going to make it a hand cream? Are we going to make it into a hair product? What exactly are we talking about? If it's coconut shells, are we going to make it into a flower vase? Are we going to make it into a flower stand? Are we going to make it into a wall hanging? Just some basic concept of the product or service which we want to develop. This is obviously important. This is where the whole process starts. In a lot of cases, we meet clients who are beyond this point. They've already made something, they've committed to a certain path, and they need help along the way. But some people are not quite sure where to go with something. They have access to something, but they don't quite know what to do with it. And so the first step in export path is the product or service conception step. Now, let's assume we get through that and we decide that we're going to make, let me pick something from my desk. Suppose we're going to make a keychain. All right, we're going to make a keychain from used rubber. And indeed, we have a client who's done that. Now, the next step is that we're going to do something called the market intelligence report. This is probably the most important thing we do in export path. Probably. This is where we ask and answer all the questions we possibly can about the product. How much of it should we make? Who should we target it to? What color should the product be? What label should it have? All the things we need to know about the product are answered. Regulatory issues, that kind of stuff. What do we need to get this product into the marketplace? Who are we competing against? So that is done in the market intelligence report. And as I said to you before, this is the longest, the most important, and easily the most critical step in export path. If we get it wrong here, just about everything else goes wrong. If we get it right, our chances of success are significantly enhanced. And that is why we put a lot of emphasis on that. Now, once we get through the market intelligence report, the next thing is then the product design phase. Oh, should it be blue, green, yellow, black? We worry about the barcode. Should it be square, circular? All that work gets done in our office here in Washington, D.C. And we endeavor to make products that are universal in their appeal. In other words, design it in such a way that we don't have to have different concepts for the different markets in which we work. It's not always possible, but we try. Once we get through that, we then go through the licensing and regulatory compliance phase. FDA, Fish and Wildlife, APHIS. If it's in Nigeria, it's NAFDAC. If it's in Ghana, it's Food and Drugs Board. Who do we need to give us a stamp of approval to bring this product in? If there is some regulatory process, we deal with that in this phase of our work. After the licensing and regulatory compliance step, we then get to the risk analysis phase. This step is required if we need to raise money from one of our banking partners. How much money should they lend? When should they provide the funds? When should they expect repatriation of the funds? All the things that a bank will need to make a lending decision will cover in the risk analysis step. If you keep your eyes on this process for a second, the step after that we call net presence. Providing an internet presence for your business, website, all the things you need to expose your business to the world. Let me just stop here and ask that you take your attention and look closely at the image before you. Notice that all the things I've talked about so far are in blue. These are blue boxes All those blue boxes constitute phase one. All right? That's phase one of the process. That's the product development phase, access to information, phase one. You can see the number of steps you have to go through to get to the point where we say we know as much as we reasonably can to make a reasonable success of this product, want to go to the production phase. All right? So that's phase one. Boxes that are marked, that are colored blue, phase one. After that is access to finance. Phase two, it's going to the bank, talking to the bank, submitting the forms, all the things we need to get the financing from our Export Path partners. Let me say a little bit about money. And we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients in Export Path now. And usually when we start working with people, we say, what do you think your problem is? The first thing we hear is money. Our experience is that just about in every case, after a short period of working with them, we identify money to not be the principal impediment to their enterprise, like phase one. If we get the information right, develop the right market, the right entry strategy, there is no reason we cannot find somebody to finance it if it's legitimate and there is good market potential for it. Bankers are there to lend money to make money. They sell money. You sell products, they sell money. They want to sell. That's how they make money. And to the extent that we can find good bankable products to export, we can get the banks to assist us. And thanks to our banking partners, we've demonstrated that this can work. It needs close collaboration, and we'll talk some more about our partners. But it would be a shame for people not to export their products simply because they think they don't have the money. And we're here to say to you, if we do the hard work in phase one, we can get you through phase two. So phase two is one box, export finance, simple step. It's improper. The subsequent steps are phase three, and really that's where you're making the product. The process development, manufacturing, packaging, all the things that you see in the subsequent step are essentially your responsibility. Make it, package it, deliver it to the point where it needs to be picked up. That's you. That's you, the exporter, doing that. Now, we've talked about phase one, which is product development. We've talked about phase two, access to finance. Phase three, which is the productive process. Phase four comes back to us. And really what you're doing is you've made it in phase three according to the standards set in phase one, using money raised in phase two. Our job now is to take the products off of your hands. So this is the offtake process. All right. You deliver the products to a designated location. It is shipped, cleared, transported, and stored for you in the market of intent. It is not expectation that living in Tanzania, you go and open up a warehouse in Ghana or in Nigeria to sell your products. It is easier for 150 small businesses in Tanzania to share one warehouse in Accra, and it is for 150 businesses to build 150 warehouses there. So by sharing resources, by collectivizing the flow of goods and services through one platform, everybody's cost is lower. You're not paying for security. You're not paying for your own transportation. You're not paying for your own warehouse. You're not paying for your own air conditioning and refrigeration if it's necessary. There are all sorts of things that you're not paying for on your own because you're part of a platform. You're part of a system of people. So that's what phase 4 does. Phase 4 is the offtake process. Take it from your hands, we'll store it, we'll transport it, we will advertise it for you, we will sell it for you. And after selling, we'll repatriate the funds to you. Okay? What I've just described to you is Export Path. That is the Export Path. Now, here's what I've described to you. It's a process that begins from conceiving a product to having it sold. You're not paying for warehouses in the countries in which you're shipping your products. You're not paying for advertising. You're not picking up the sales and marketing cost. That is what Export Path as a platform does for you. Now, success at the end of the day is twofold. One, your products are sold at a profit, you get your money back. Secondly, you get information back from the platform, which enables you to improve your product so that you can even sell more the next time around. This is distinctly different from what a lot of buyers do. I can come to a country as a buyer, put up a shingle, say, bring me carvings. I buy the wood carvings and I leave, and I have no obligation to you beyond that point. Once I've paid you your money and I leave, that is it. In this program, we as a company and as a partner, a member of this consortium of companies and organizations, we are insistent that the market intelligence which you get back as an exporter, as a manufacturer, as a producer, is just as important as the money that you get back, because this is how you grow. So you made it the first time, the sales were okay, but we kept hearing from customers that if you did this and did the other thing, we could have more sales. It is our obligation as a platform to give that information back to you. So you make more that appeals to more people, so we can sell more and we can grow wealth. The wealth creation process is what this is about at the end of the day. Our work would not be complete if we don't mention the people we work with here in the US. As I said, it takes a lot of people to do this. Oiva Exchange is a product marketing and distribution operation here in Silver Spring. Oiva Exchange covers the US and most of North America. Oiva Exchange operates an online platform that markets products from emerging markets in the US and beyond. They also assist with export of goods to Africa and other emerging markets, and they provide and manage the primary marketing outlet for Export Path products in the US, actually in North America. Digital Threshold provides web design, digital publishing and content distribution, internet marketing, and direct mail marketing services. And their partnership in Export Path enables the provision of affordable web design and electronic content management services for both Export Path, the program, and also for Export Path clients. So they make it possible to assist our clients with creation of ebooks, movies, and other digital content which is sold via Export Path. And let me say a few words about vertical optimization. We are the managing partner for Export Path. The program was developed and founded here. And we're a product and business development firm here in the Washington, D.C. area. In addition to our product development services, we also provide financial services as an OPIC EDN loan originator. And so we're able to enable companies get not just business development assistance, but also loans for U.S. companies looking to invest around the world. In addition to the other partners, we work with other government agencies like various units in the Department of Commerce here, with whom we work to intervene in specific instances, especially as it relates to export of U.S. products and in overseas investment opportunities for U.S. companies. So that is how we're organized, and we're growing. We have other partners who are in the process of signing on, and we shall keep updating this information on our website. But for today, what I would like you to take away is that there are several of us, many of us working on this, trying to make this process easy for you, the exporter. And we shall provide all the contact information after this so that you can take your time and write it down or contact anybody who's close to you. But please know that we are committed as a group, as a partnership, to make life easy for our exporters so that products from emerging markets can make it into not just regional markets, not just transatlantic markets, but essentially the global marketplace. That's what our aspiration is. And I thank you for watching.